the burdens and the true release of those burdens to find rest exist in the very still but very tangible physical realm. We just have to make the choice. Hey, this is Joe from Self-Time Tarot. I'm gonna do another really late night draw and talk about it. So tonight I think I'm gonna ask the question that I feel like we ask ourselves a lot. It's a difficult one. And are you ready for it? How can I rest? Not like sleep or nap, but how can I rest? How can I actually rest my body, rest my mind, and what exactly is rest? Let's ask the tarot, yeah? Okay, so the deck I'm using now is my current working deck, which is Ciro Marchetti's Legacy of the Divine Tarot. Okay, and the bottom card. Okay, we've got the 10 of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so first up we have the 10 of Wands, and what an accurate depiction that is of the person asking, how can I rest? It's very clear here that that's what we need, and it's almost like he's forced into rest in this illustration. Now we have the 10 wands here forming the alchemical symbol for fire on his back. Now, I like that it's on his back here. I feel like there's a lot because we can think of fire and wands as like our spinal cord, our place of feeling, of activity, of excitement, of fight or flight. And so to have it on that sensitive area, I feel like is a nice poignant touch to this illustration. So rest. I think the Ten of Wands is saying that the first point in finding our ways to rest is identifying what is keeping us from it. Identifying what are the stressors, what is the weight, what is the burden that is hampering our ability to rest. But once we identify them, we can see them, because notice his eyes are not looking forward on the path that he was on. The Ten of Wands, he's going somewhere. He's on a mission, but the burden of the mission itself is what stops him, ironically. There's some ocular information in this card, noticing that his eyes are down. He's lost sight of his path because of the burden. And so regaining sight and noticing that there's a burden is usually the first step. Now, looking at Ace of Coins, the Ace of Coins tells us that rest exists nowhere else but in this material physical realm, as does most of the work, and that's something I really believe in. That's something that I really believe in, that the work, whether it be spiritual, creative, as a human, athletic, body, mind, heart, it exists initially in the physical realm, because the physical realm is, the body is our vehicle for mind, which might be our vehicle for spirit. So it exists in the very tangible aspects of life. So literally, sit down. That's coming to mind. Sit down, relax your shoulders, feel your pelvis, feel your feet on the floor, and just be. That's what I'm getting from this Eight of Pentacles right now. It's just very still, and it's at rest. This giant golden coin, this giant disc, is just so nicely anchored into the soil. And everything around it is just adapting. Notice that everything is still breathing. There's still life. There's acorns. I want to really notice these acorns right now, actually. That's just an intuitive spark, but the acorns are still there. The cycle of life is going. Just because there's stillness, it doesn't mean everything stops. You can trust the momentum of your contextual life to continue, of the people and the things around you, because you're not fueling the world, and that's something to really remember. I think there's a bee up here. Yeah, here's a bee. He's going. He's doing his thing, and this big disc is just resting nicely in the soil. So, and then we can admire that continuity. We can admire the rhythm of nature, the momentum of our surroundings when we're still. Getting a deeper appreciation for the movement of what's around us just by being still. Bottom card is the Lovers. Okay. Oop, and then behind that is Death. So let's check that out too. The Lovers has to do with sagacity, discernment, a keen sense of what is something and what is not something. I do often use the traditional interpretation of choice. Sometimes I will see love in it, but I often usually see multiplicity, options, choices, especially because it's attributed to Gemini. Gemini and all their thoughts and all their thinking, multitasking, multiple things at once, and then the twins. And also, the Kabbalistic letter associated to the Lovers is Zayin, or Zain, just so you know, which is the English tradition. But that letter means sword. And what does a sword do? It cuts, it cleaves, it separates, it discerns. Also, what else do swords do? They duel. Two parts, two sides fighting. And swords are also sharp. They can they cut clearly. This is a very airy card. We have Gemini, we have the sword as a Kabbalistic letter. It has to do with choices as well. And this all comes down to making the decision for time and space. The sense function attributed to this card is the sense of smell, which is a sense all about discernment. So we need to be able to discern when it is time for rest, when it is time for activity and balance. Priorities come into mind, designating time for different things. Thinking about rationing your time in such a scrupulous way. This card also has to do with balance on the psychological levels. So we have, in the traditional Rider-Waite card, we have a man looking at a woman, looking at an angel. So we have conscious looking through via the unconscious mind into the superconscious. And so maybe rest has to do with balancing and reconciling these three levels of ourselves. Because we know when the unconscious isn't agreeing with the conscious, there's cognitive dissonance. It creates a whole self-sabotaging crazy. Last thing is love and self-love. Do you love yourself enough to give yourself recovery? To give yourself time? To give yourself restoration? And I think self-love is maybe really the starting point of true rest. Because when we can accept ourselves existing, breathing, living without doing anything, clear mind, relaxed body, and being okay with that we're in a place and we're not in use, and yet still loving ourselves. That's a beautiful place to be. And under this card was Death, which just tells us to let go. And what better card could tell us that than Death? Let go. And this has to do with not bringing home what's happening in the external world. The home is a sacred space, and we need to learn to let go of our outside turmoils, our outside efforts. I like that the image is of the ground, and we can see like a dead bird here, and they're sprouting new life. So there's restoration here, but the restoration is from this initial I want to look at this dead bird here for a second because I just get the sense of total release, relinquishing all efforts of the body into the ground to allow for restoration, renewing energy, sprouting up again. It's kind of reminding me of some somatic systems of like scanning the body and gradually imagining heat and then releasing um, inch by inch the full body into the floor and into your bed wherever, but really fully releasing the body and surrendering to sleep, surrendering to a clear mind, surrendering to an adaptive mind. We have Scorpio, here's Scorpio, which is attributed to death. Scorpio is the ever-changing sign, always transforming. So, just to conclude, I would like to say that the burdens and the true release of those burdens to find rest exist in the very still but very tangible physical realm. We just have to make the choice.